you deliver feedback that's critical in a one-on-one meeting and still keep a positive tone? Hi, I'm Marissa Santoro, and I help professionals own their value so they can consistently stand out and increase their impact and income in their careers. Now, this is a question that I get asked all the time, even from people that, love to hold one-on-one meetings or love to have, meetings with their team or other colleagues, even peers. But yet, when it comes to giving critical feedback, it's perceived as conflict, and not all of us like to step into conflict, right? Maybe you even, prefer to avoid it altogether if you can. And I get that, right? That's human. But you can have a very productive meeting, right? That doesn't necessarily have to be perceived as critical, as conflict, right? It's critical feedback. And one of the strategies that we often talk about, which you may have heard of as the feedback sandwich, or sometimes it's the compliment sandwich. And this is a technique which quite honestly, it's a popular method for delivering feedback, especially when you're trying to maintain a positive and constructive tone. And the reason why it's called a sandwich is because it involves sandwiching the critical feedback that you want to share between two positive statements. So first off, when do you use this? Well, there's no shortage of when to use it. You can use it when you're having a performance review conversation. You can use it when someone has done a presentation and you want to give some feedback on that. You can use it after a project or during a project. You can use it when you've had or made a specific ask or asked for a specific task, and it wasn't accomplished and performed, in your opinion, to the best of your ability, right? The person's ability. So here's how this works. First, you want to go into that conversation, and this is the top part of the sandwich. You want to go into that conversation and acknowledge the person. Acknowledge the person for any contributions that they've made on that project, in that task, on the team, right? If you don't have anything specific, then talk about their strengths, right? Really genuinely go in there with a positive note. Then you want to pivot into the critical feedback. So you can say something along the lines of, well, I've noticed that whenever you're working or whenever we have to get that report out, it's a couple of days late. Or I noticed that it's taking a little bit longer to deliver out to our constituents. Or, if there's a process or a communication breakdown, for example, you can say, can you help me understand, where or why this process is now being delegated to another team. Can you help me understand is a good one, because it also allows you to ask open-ended questions. Another open-ended question would be starting with what would have to happen? What would have to happen to shorten this time frame to, instead of 2 months, to 1 month? Do we need more resources? Do we need more budget? Where do you need the support? I noticed that you've been struggling in this area, or maybe that's the perception, right? I recently had a coaching call with someone who shared that his style is not very soft and fluffy, I think is how we put it. He's very direct in his emails, and when he writes them, they seem very buttoned up and very to the point, and they can sometimes be perceived as being cold and not caring to the team, because it kind of goes against the culture that they've been used to. So, when we had this conversation, I had asked him, what is the feedback that you've gotten? And he actually has shared that he sat in one-on-one meetings, just like the one I'm describing here, where he was given that critical feedback. Can you help me understand, why the team feels like you are a little standoffish, or not really, plugged in or inclusive, if you will, right? So sometimes these can be very subtle things that you want to understand more better because it's affecting the team culture. Sometimes it's a specific conversation based on a project or a task. It's really important when you have this critical feedback conversation that you do get as specific as possible, so that the person really does understand. You're not talking in general terms here. In fact, if you're going to talk general, this is not going to be a productive conversation, and you're not going to see a result. So you want to get very specific. Open-ended questions is a great strategy, is using some of those openers. Now we get to the end of the sandwich. You want to end with a thank you and give some encouragement. Again, reiterate where you see they have contributed Maybe throughout the course of the conversation, you think of things that, you may have forgot to mention that you really were grateful for. They're, going above and beyond on a task, giving them a task that that they would absolutely shine in, and, not something that's, dull and boring, but something that, would light them up. So, really be intentional around, first of all, the intention. Be intentional around your intention of, what is it that you really want to create before you end that one-on-one. The more you get clear on how you want to feel when you're giving that feedback, the more you will be those thoughts, right? So you want to really be present to what you want to feel and how you want the other person to feel and what the results are ultimately, right? Try the feedback or the compliment sandwich, right? Positive, critical, positive, and be genuine and see how it goes from there. Everyone's been on the other side of that conversation, and many of us have been on the side, where you are in your shoes. So I hope this was helpful. I'm Marissa Santoro from In Our Shoes, and I will talk to you soon. Bye now.